Hey guys, welcome back to another video here at All I See is W, where we talk about finance, Bitcoin, and stocks. Today, I wanted to share with you just overall updates around the entire world, how we're beginning to see a conforming push towards the acceptance of Bitcoin. We'll talk about all of the global news as well as just hearing about recent news where there's other Bitcoin mining companies that are using the Bitcoin playbook that MSTR has. So just recently, we had news being announced by another large-scale Bitcoin mining company that is now adopting that playbook. What does this mean? Most of you are wondering. So now a good time to buy these miner stocks. We'll talk about the overall market updates today as well with the stock price in correlation with the reduction in Bitcoin price. So if you're new to this channel, I would really appreciate you smashing the like, subscribing for more related content here. Let's begin, guys. So first off, I wanted to just share with you overall news around the proposed US Bitcoin strategic reserve. So we know that in November, Donald Trump got elected as the president, and he's been such a big proponent on trying to push for the acceptance of Bitcoin. So the US Treasury plans to invest about 76 billion in Bitcoin over the 5 years. So positioning itself as a long-term hedge against inflation and economic stability. This will really help cut down our debt when you think about the overall US debt in the trillions of dollars. But I think as part of the tool that the United States will use is that this will really be a hedge against gaining on economic power and influence around the world to really be the number one leading country in this global race. The United States needs to be the number one powerhouse, like what Trump mentioned, as the leading force with reserving Bitcoin on the US Reserve. And that's why there's been a push similar to what we've seen in gold. You go to New York, you go to the New York fin Federal Reserve Bank on the fourth floor, you see tons of gold stashed. So just think about Bitcoin being stashed on the blockchain, secured. Uh, that's just going to be the same thing. It's just going to be digital, secure storage, whereas gold, we have all of that mainly stored in the United States. So it's similar there, but I think that with the Bitcoin bill to establish a strategic Bitcoin reserve, that's going to help not only drive down costs, but really put the United States as the precipice to address the national debt and just be the leading force in the United world here. Now, just to share with you just news around Bitcoin Magazine here. So there's just recent announcement from Russia. Russia's trying to get into adopting a strategic Bitcoin reserve here. So Russia's trying to put in place a plan. So here, State Duma deputy from the New People Party sent an appeal to the Russian finance minister with the proposal to create a strategic Bitcoin reserve in Russia, similar to state reserves. So that's the direction that Russia is also heading here. And the central bank of Russia is already preparing to launch an experiment in cross-border settlements in cryptocurrency. So there you have it. I'm sure Russia is partnering up with China to start mining a ton load of Bitcoin. And it's only a matter of once Bitcoin becomes very scarce, that's when the premium for acquiring Bitcoin price is going to be even more expensive than where it currently is. So we've heard news around the United States, El Salvador, Brazil, Poland, post the election, especially after Trump announcing that the US is looking to build a strategic Bitcoin reserve of over 1 million Bitcoin, which now has caught the attention of like other countries that are trying to be in that race through game theory. And even the president, he stated that no one can ban or prohibit the use of Bitcoin. And Putin also signed a new law legalizing Bitcoin and cryptocurrency mining within the country. So there you have it. Russia, China, they're all getting involved here, those big name countries. So what does that mean? It's a race to mine and acquire Bitcoin, put it onto the US Reserve. Today, Michael Saylor, CEO of MicroStrategy, MSTR is the titan of just holding on to Bitcoin. So their HODL number right now, after acquiring more Bitcoin today at 2.1 billion at the price of 98,000, they're now at 423,000 Bitcoin, close to about owning 2% of the entire Bitcoin reserve out of like the 17 to 21 million available Bitcoins to date. So they've achieved a 68.7% yield year to date on just acquiring more Bitcoin. Now, a lot of contrarian investors are like, hey, you're paying at a premium. But I think with the conviction that Michael Saylor has, when you scale this out through the long run, Bitcoin's only going to be scarce and law of economics will apply, and the premium for paying for a Bitcoin will be at a higher cost when you're buying it in bulk. So I think that's why MSTR is loading it up because in the future, when you try to load it up, it's going to cost way more and you won't be able to buy more because it's a limited number with Bitcoin. So that's one thing we have to put into perspective here. So another article here is that MicroStrategy buys more Bitcoin. So just with the last few weeks, MSTR has been just consistently announcing that they've been just buying more and more Bitcoin at the overall price average now of like 60,000 out of all the Bitcoins they've owned. So this is really to allow for their company to offer clients the ability to invest in their company stock. There are some countries out there, like in the UK, where you're not able to buy Bitcoin, but by investing in MicroStrategy, whether it's through their stock or their index like MSTU, you have more volatility based on your risk profile. So if you invest in MicroStrategy, there's risk tolerance there. You can also buy bonds, which is at a lower risk tolerance. But if you have a higher stomach for volatility, you can invest in their indexes as well. So the way that the company is set up is that they're able to cater towards global investors who don't have the ability to buy Bitcoin in their country. And that's why these investors have the hedge or the ability to proxy into buying company stocks similar to MSTR. And just throughout the entire year, MSTR has been one of the leading workhorses, got up to about close to nearly 1,000% in gains. Of course, we see some profit taking, but I think through these continued acquisitions, MSTR can really blow through the waters and continue to appreciate with its share price, similar to NVIDIA, the titan in the AI industry. Just to share with you more details here on another crypto company, which is a Bitcoin mining company, and that is Marathon Digital. So MARA, they actually acquired more Bitcoin as well using the MSTR playbook. So just with the November production data, not only did they mine 907 Bitcoin all-time high, 26% month over month increase post the recent halving, they also acquired more Bitcoin on their balance sheet at the price of 77,000. Their total year to date is like 8,500. So the unique thing about MARA is that not only can they acquire Bitcoin through the loans that they've taken about $2 billion loans through the convertible notes, which doesn't extend to become available shares or any interests applied yet at this time. So dilution factor doesn't kick in yet. But this gives MARA and other Bitcoin miners the opportunity to use MSTR's playbook because we know that in the long run, Bitcoin's going to be more difficult to mine. So there are investors out there, retail investors, who are trying to look for different sectors to reallocate their profits, especially in MSTR, whether it can continue to go up or diversify the load a bit to more undervalued plays similar to the Bitcoin mining stocks. We've seen a euphoric run in Bitcoin as well as in MSTR. So now to invest in the non-euphoric sectors, which we've seen the miners be lagging behind the price of Bitcoin. But overall, all in all, I think just following historical trends with Bitcoin, there's potential for the Bitcoin rally to continue up through the end of 2025. So we'll see how that goes. But overall, just nice to see that now we're seeing Bitcoin miners also apply the MSTR MicroStrategy. Let's take a look at the second company here, which is the second largest Bitcoin mining company. That is Riot Platform, RILT ticker. They actually announced the same playbook of MSTR here, similar to what MARA has also done just recently. And I think this is a very smart move, especially if you're one of the leading Bitcoin mining companies with a high HODL count. So with MSTR having the highest HODL account, secondary is MARA. Now the next third well-known established company out there that mines also has engineering services that they bring revenue from is applying the HODL approach as well, because the race now is to mine as much Bitcoin as well as acquiring as much Bitcoin as possible, because the goal is to have the most HODL count in your reserve. Because at the end of the day, once we have Donald Trump, the president, run the show here, I think there's going to be government pushes where the US government will start partnering up with these large scale Bitcoin companies, especially with the Bitcoin miners here, because it's essential for the miners to be around when Bitcoin is around, and you can't have it vice versa. Without Bitcoin miners, you won't even have the blockchain or Bitcoin exist. That's why it becomes very critical for these miners to be looked at through the lens of value heading into the new year as well. And I believe that there will be some government contracts in place, and these companies have that internal understanding that that's what's going to be coming. We don't know what MSTR, MARA, or Riot knows, but I'm sure they're planning for the future, because in order to support the United States initiative of US Bitcoin reserve of 1 million Bitcoins up through the next 4 years, the US government will tap into companies like Riot, MARA, and MSTR. And what does that mean? These large scale HODL companies applying that HODL approach will benefit, in addition to the rise in the hash rate that Riot, MARA, and other top name companies will apply, similar to like CleanSpark. You have other companies out there that's value plays as well, growth perspective, like Hut 8, you have Iron Core Scientific. So all of those high-end top miners will start benefiting. But just this news here today, even though we saw a drop-off with the overall price, not only for Riot's price, but I think today was such a great opportunity to buy at the discount in addition to all the other miners, given the fact that Bitcoin price went down. But here with the $500 million convertible note that's going to mature up through January 15th, 2030, whether that's going to be provided in cash or converted into available shares. So the dilution doesn't kick in. Most of you are wondering, so does that mean that my shares gets diluted once this gets approved? That doesn't happen until later. So I think that overall, with Riot intending to use the net proceeds to acquire additional Bitcoin and for other corporate purposes, I think that this is looking really good to allow not only A, Riot to mine Bitcoin, but B, now use that MSTR playbook when the time is right. Looking at Riot's balance sheet, they have about 60 million in debt, which is looking very healthy for their overall balance sheet. So I think that with this approval of taking on this loan, Riot is going to build onto their HODL at a minimum 15,000 Bitcoin, so like half of what MARA has. So they will create that disparity to be number three US North American company that has the most amount of Bitcoin, with Tesla right behind them at like 9,000. So I think Riot Mara is trying to create that disparity from the under level sub-tier companies, and to really be the workhorse right behind the Titan MSTR. So from a share price standpoint, I really do think that there's going to be a number of Bitcoin miners that will perform very well, similar to like Mara, Riot, CleanSpark, all of the growth Bitcoin mining companies as well. Today, we didn't see that, but especially with the volatility that we see in the Bitcoin mining space, I think a lot of investors like that, whether they're day traders or swing traders or long-term investors. But overall, I think that with the US Bitcoin Strategic Reserve and the entire global countries trying to adopt this strategic Bitcoin reserve. Now, with the top known companies acquiring Bitcoin more and more, we're going to see other crypto companies applying the HODL approach and taking on convertible notes to buy more Bitcoin because of what's to come in the future. Bitcoin is not going away. I think that in 2025, we can see Bitcoin break through 150,000. But when you scale that out through the long run, I do see two commas added to Bitcoin. That's going to be over the $1 million, similar to what Kathy Woods is suggesting and predicting in the future. So there you have it. I hope that you found this video valuable, and I'd love to hear what your comments, questions are. Is the Bitcoin mining space a buy right now, or do you think MSTR is the better option? Let me know what your comments, questions are down below. Thank you, guys.